everyone out there in virtual land. We are so happy and so thrilled tonight to have you share our guest with us on MLF's Chilling with the Girls. And tonight we have to talk to us Ms. Tamara Brown, all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Woo-hoo!
And
Yes.
she is a graduate of the School of Professional Studies of Eastern University and also the Palmer Theological Seminary, both located in Pennsylvania. Um, she is currently a trustee board member for her church, but professionally, she is a program analyst of the City of Philadelphia, where her position includes conducting, coordinating, and facilitating mental health first aid trainings throughout the city. She is very adamant about what she does. She loves people, and her theological training, along with her secular professional training, works hand in hand so that she can address many, many issues that involve people worldwide. We're going to ask you, how did you get started into this field, Miss Brown? And what was your motivation?
Wow.
Wow. Actually, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Evening.
Actually, when I was attending nursing school, my undergraduate degree, I was working at a group home. And working at the group home, my individuals that I served were experiencing mental health challenges and also intellectual disabilities. So that was kind of a segue into my love for the field and supporting individuals. In addition, while I was in nursing school, I did want to specialize in psychiatric nursing just to support individuals that might have those challenges.
Wow. Okay.
That's great.
How long
Yeah.
have you worked with people having like a mental health issues?
Since the 1980s.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Yes, it is. Oh, wow.
She must have just came right out of her cradle and started working. She's so
I know.
used to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Tamara, have you noticed, has there been like an uptake in the mental health cases pre-COVID or during COVID? Has it?
Yes,
That's a good question.
Absolutely. Here in the city of Philadelphia, we have a hotline where individuals would call in if they are experiencing mental health challenges. So we have, actually the phone lines have been overloaded
Wow.
with calls, especially because of the isolation dealing with COVID, the closed doors, people spending extended amounts of time with each other in those closed doors, not being able to get out as much to walk around and do those normal things that they are used to that will help to release that frustration and that pressure, and going out in the open and being around other people, helps individuals to feel themselves, to release and get encouraged and to calm down and relax and all of those different things that make you get into your zen level where you feel comfortable that you can face any challenge with a positive mental attitude. So when we're closed up and isolated and not able to do those things, then it kind of puts a strain on people's mental health.
Wow. And I would think maybe even fresh air, just getting out, fresh air,
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's so good. Everybody needs to know about, mental health, especially with COVID that's going on. So how important do you think it is for you to have, everybody to have mental health awareness? They need to know about it.
They absolutely do. We all have mental wellness, and it's on a continuum. Since we all have a mind, we're able to think, we're intellectual beings. We have to realize that it's on a continuum, just like anything else. So as we feed our bodies daily, we have to feed our minds daily as well. So we have to make sure we're in a positive frame of mind so that we're able to answer questions, make good decisions, all of those different things, even how we interact and engage other people in just normal conversation. All of those things, play a good part in our mental well-being. And if we feel good about ourselves, we feel as though we make good decisions, then we approach life with a more positive attitude and we're overall happy.
Okay. Now, do you know if there's any programs or conferences or anything? Because they usually have like health awareness or whatever. Are there any programs, anything out there for mental health awareness?
Yes, particularly for the city of Philadelphia, on our webpage on dbhids.org, we have a lot of mental health programs going on. We also have on healthymindsphilly.org, we have a mental health screening that individuals can take anonymously. And according to the responses, someone will contact that individual, ask some more engaging questions, and then refer them to the appropriate professional that they may need. Also, the course that I teach, which is called Mental Health First Aid, mentalhealthfirstaid.org. They also have a lot of information, different classes that may be taught throughout the country as well. And that actually started over in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, like in 2001, somewhere around that. And then it came to the United States in 2008. So so this training is being actually taught all over the world.
Wow.
That's good, because I thought it was only in Philly. I'm sorry.
No. Many of the studies and research were actually done in the state of Maryland.
Really?
Wow, go Maryland.
Wow. So wait a
Where
minute.
did
How
we
long have
start
you been
this?
teaching?
Maryland? Oh.
How long have you been? Oh, see. How long have you been teaching that, Tamara?
Well, it came to the United States in 2008, and the city of Philadelphia, we rolled out the largest scale of any kind in our country. So I've been teaching this since 2012.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Do you think this condition stems from a genetic or hereditary background? Which is more prevalent?
That's a good question, Bob.
Actually, a lot of the research says that it could be hereditary. It can stem from genetics. It can also stem from environment stressors that individuals have experienced. So it's not really, you can't say it was one thing or the other. All of that makes up an individual, the things that they have experienced, their family background, all of those things kind of play a part as well.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know something.
So is there a cure for people suffering from mental health problems? Or
Jesus. No, I'm just playing.
Is mental health, is that the proper word, the politically correct word to use?
When mental
Because a lot
health,
of people talk about mental, how they shift some of the words or.
well, it's mental illness, mental well-being. We've changed actually the National Council for Mental Health. We changed it to mental well-being.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So as far as a cure, there's really no real cure for mental wellness. It's just like for our physical bodies, that continuum. So when a person may be experiencing a mental health challenge or crisis, there's some things that can be put in place. Treatment, some type of treatment. They make it like a plan for them, some treatments, maybe some support groups that they might attend. They might see a therapist. They may participate in rehabilitation, depending on what type of mental disorder that they may be challenged with. And one thing is,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to say one thing about it when we look at mental health and mental illness is we don't want individuals to be looked at, quote unquote, according to their diagnosis. There are individuals that may be challenged with mental illness. Right. Just like a person that may experience diabetes. They are not people call them a diabetic, but no, there's a person that's challenged with diabetes. Because we always want to see the person first, because the person is so much more than what they may be challenged with.
Oh, that is good.
That is so good.
That
So
is
what are
really
the type
good.
of programs you were saying that you will give them to help?
Well, rehabilitation. They can, connect with those. You have to look at whatever's in your community or in your city, because different areas provide different types of programs and support systems. And we have a lot more that are out there today than they ever were before. But therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists, rehabilitation centers or community support groups, and then individuals have their own self-help things that they do as well. For instance, when we experience a very stressful day at work, for instance, when we come home, there's certain things we do to unwind. There's certain things we do to relax. Those are some of those strategies that we put into place just to help us to chill and be at that normal peak, you know, and feel comfortable and calm and, you know, feel in control. You know, so those things we have as well. So we talk about in our course, we talk about listening non-judgmentally, having a mindset to listen to the person. You know, a lot of times when somebody's talking to us, we're trying to figure out how we're going to respond and not really listening. But we teach individuals how to listen non-judgmentally, so to be a no judgment zone. Because when we want to help someone, our beliefs, our morals, they have to take a back seat because we're trying to help that person. So we want to see what the person's going through. You know, are they acting a little different today than they did yesterday? Do they seem kind of bothered? Or, you know, if you see those subtle changes in their behaviors, then you want, if you see something different, to say something. I am concerned about you. I have noticed these changes. And when you do that, the person is more welcoming, more open, and they may share depending on their relationship that they have with you.
Wow. Wow.
That is so good. It's so good because some people don't listen. They don't listen and they don't pay attention. You know, they just think about, you know, what I'm going to say. Like you said, what's the next thing I'm going to say, you know, instead of watching and paying attention and listen beyond what a person is saying as well.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Most of our communication, you know, over 80% of our communication is our nonverbal. Your body posture, your facial expressions, even your eye contact, whether you're giving them eye to eye contact. Have we invaded their space? You know, that 3 feet between each other. If you step into that person's space, how does that person respond or react? You know, and some of the ways people respond and react or respond is due to the things that they have experienced in their environment, previous relationships, some of the traumas that they may have experienced as well.
Yeah. Is it safe to say that almost all of us have a little something that we're dealing with? I mean, is there something wrong with all of us?
All of us are
absolutely. I believe every single one of us has some challenges. All right. Everything we experience, every situation, even the environments in which we grow, they cause us sometimes to respond a certain way. For instance, in urban communities where there's a lot of gun shootings, violence, those different things, those are traumas. You know, a person may be doing well, and then all of a sudden they hear those things. And now you just hear a car backfire and boom, you think it's a gun. You know, that person has been traumatized. If a person has been victimized, been robbed, or experienced even a car accident, lost a loved one, all of our responses, our coping skills and our coping mechanisms, if we go through one thing after another, we can become compromised. So that's why it's so important to value the relationships that we have, to support one another, to be there for one another, because you don't know what a person has experienced nor how it may affect them internally and mentally.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was even thinking that you should be aware of who you are and how you're feeling too. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to if you feel a certain kind of way, you know, if some things trigger some things in you, like pay attention to if you're sleepy all the time or you feel like you're kind of sad. You know, I think we need to pay attention to all of those signs, even in our life. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I believe that, you know, a lot of especially different cultures, they may not go to the doctor unless you're ill. And I mean, extremely ill to sometimes where there's no recourse for them to support you because you've waited to the last minute. Oh, it's nothing. Oh, it's nothing. And then, you know, it's monumental when you get there. But if we will follow the regimen of seeing our primary physician every year, getting that physical every year, because now they're starting to ask those questions. Do you find yourself crying for no apparent reason? How are you sleeping? Are you sleeping soundly? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating properly? Are you eating 3 meals a day? Are you exercising? Are you getting out in the fresh air? They're starting to ask all of these questions. And then they do, you know, they have those little surveys. And if you answer a certain amount of questions, you know, they'll probe a little more, or they may even refer you. So when you go into the doctor, share everything, because they can't help you unless you give them the information.
Yeah,
all right.
I noticed that.
I thought they cared about me. I was like, oh, my doctor. I thought about, oh, she's just checking off the list. She was like, how's your family? I was like, oh, how's my family? Oh, my mom's fine. My sister, blah, 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 blah. And I was like,
They don't
so
care
do
about
ask
you.
you know, are you depressed? Have you been feeling depressed lately? You know, so they do. And I thought about, I said, it's nothing but a checklist. They don't care about me.
And they
start to find out what's going on with you, so that they can better support you.
And
They don't care, Tim. No, they don't. No, they don't
They do
care.
ask you questions. I
Some
think
of them
according to your
do.
age. Do they ask you, oh, did anybody hit you lately? Did anybody hit you?
Yeah.
Because I'm elderly, because a lot of elderly people are being abused.
Yes, a lot of elderly
do you have food? Are you hungry? I said, no, I'm not hungry.
That's one of
Nobody
those
hit me.
Yeah, and
And
you
then,
know,
I'm sorry.
sometimes you have to realize there are still good doctors out there, even though, and you have to understand that there is maybe one psychologist per 500,000 people.
Good Lord.
All right. So when you think about it, people getting those appointments, sometimes they have to wait so long. So sometimes it's not so much the doctor that's trying to rush. I mean, they have so many individuals. People are not going into these fields, you know, so there is a shortage.
Okay.
And now with a lot of medications, a lot of trauma that people are experiencing in our world today, there's a shortage. So we as a community, we have to look out for our individuals. You know, when you grew up, it used to be, it takes a village to raise a child. You know how it used to be your next door neighbor. If you acted up out in the street, your neighbor told your mama.
Yeah.
See,
That's right.
now people they're here today and they might be here 2 or 3 years, and then they move along and then they move along, you know, so our neighbors are rapidly changing. So we don't have that cohesiveness as we once had, but we have to look out for each other and realize that our neighborhoods and our communities are only as strong as we as individuals communicate and make those bonds and connections.
Wow. Yeah.
So Tish, you can't be sitting at the doctor's office telling them all your business and stuff. Just answer yes or no.
I just thought they cared about me. They wanted to know about my family.
They got other patients to take care of.
No,
they don't
you
have time
give them all of that information that they may need. All right, so that they can support you and your family and your community.
Yeah,
you're paying for that. Get all your money's worth.
That's right.
Got that right.
So, so Tamara, let me ask you, have you faced any challenges? What challenge have you confronted, you know, like with dealing with mental health issues?
Actually,
challenges.
Wow. Individuals that might be actually experiencing some type of trauma at that particular time, and needing some support or needing a connection for me to refer them, to give them names and numbers, and even, yes, to connect them to some type of support or help. Also just actually people that may be actually hearing voices and them communicating and saying things to me, and being able within myself, because I have been trained, I know how to be calm. I know how to realize that I'm not responding to the voices, but I'm talking to the individual. So knowing how to engage with a person that might be in the midst of a mental health challenge has also been very, very important. And I want to share with you, sometimes in our classes, people may be experiencing a mental health challenge. So we ask them, let us know if you're okay. Some people may have just lost a loved one. They may have just recently attempted to complete suicide. So we have to be mindful of those individuals as well. So it helps us to be a little more aware of how to step in and support people. And one thing that one of you said, I'm not sure who said it, was really good. It might have been Tish. you got to be aware of your own feelings, whether I'm able to step into this situation and support this person, or do I have to hand them off to someone that knows them a little better, or to a professional. Because we don't always know what to say or what to do in situations. But I have been quite fortunate to be able to support individuals that may have been facing a challenge, and I was there to support and to help them. And I'm so grateful that even in our classes, when people receive the information, they'll say, wow, I just thought my neighbor was just mean. Now I realize that she may have been experiencing a mental health challenge. So now they will go back and apologize and come back the next day for the second half. So it helps people to be more kind and considerate of other individuals that might be in their lives. So, yeah.
So how many people could you have in your class at one given time?
The optimum number, we would say no more than 30.
Okay, wow.
30 individuals in our classes. Right now, due to COVID, we are teaching the classes on Zoom. So I have actually taught individuals, they have signed up in my class. They have actually been from California or visiting somewhere else. I've had quite a few people from Maryland, Georgia, all over, you know, since the pandemic. So we're on Zoom now. So
wow,
individuals everywhere.
Wow.
So do you take your work home with you? I mean, how do you, I guess, disconnect from it, you know, when you go home?
We do self-care. So once a training is over, the training is over. You do something good for yourself, you relax, whatever I like to do. Like I may watch a movie, I may read a book, I may go out to dinner, something relaxing to take my mind off of the training. You know, most of the time it's really okay. It's really, you know, what I do is really good. So if pre-COVID, if we did a training at our community center, then I'm outside in the, you know, in the sun. It's nice and beautiful. I see other people. I might window shop or do different things. You know, we all have our different things that we do just to help us to relax, to calm down, you know. And then we also had a good group of individuals in our team where if we had any challenges, we can share with individuals. You know? So we're very lenient, very cohesive, and we support one another. You know,
and that's good. That's good to know. That's a good practice because, you know, just the way we are, my family, whatever, we're very emotional and compassionate with other people's feelings, and you know, when they're going through things, whatever, and we can tend to hold on to those, you know, where it becomes a burden to us, like it's heavy, you know. So that's good good advice to you know, do something that you enjoy, to just you know, unwind or whatever, watch a movie or read a book, you know, something like that. So that's good advice.
Yeah, you have to do self-care. And the curriculum that we have, and I keep referring back to it because it's awesome. They have put in a part what we call a self-care plan. So we encourage individuals, you know, you receive a lot of information. If you have a real stressful day, do a self-care plan. And I can easily share that with you all.
That would be great.
Well. And it's something, it's a living document. So you can always change it. And you just write down if I'm going through a hard time, who can I talk to? You write that person's name and number in there. How do I decompress? How do I get myself to feel comfortable and relaxed? You write that kind of stuff down. What gets me upset? What makes me angry? Or how do I deal when I'm frustrated? What things do I do to take that out of me? Because a lot of those negative feelings, if we hold on to them, they cause physical ailments. And that's why the word says disease. It's dis-ease. That means your mental mindset, your physical body, all of those things are not coherent. They're not, you know, in sync. So when they're not in sync, you're going to experience that increased tiredness, that loss of focus, you know, not sleeping, or, you know, all of those different things. So you have to make sure you take care of yourself and get rid of all of that negative energy. So we really focus on, even though it's talking about mental health, it's talking about your mindset, because the way you think affects the way you respond to other things in your life. So the way you think It affects the words that you say, how you interact with individuals, everything. It affects your whole entire life, every single thing. So mental wellness, the head, if the head is sick or hurt, then the whole body is out of sync.
Wow. Yeah.
We
Wow.
have a comment from, I think it's Shaquetta Williams. She said, very good information, ladies. I truly appreciate you sharing this information. It's definitely needed. I was also thinking about, Tamara, can we talk about the spiritual side of it? Like, do you indirectly guide the people to the spiritual side of it? Like, you know how Miles Monroe would say, or Les Brown would say something like, my favorite book in the world says blah, blah, blah. And he'll quote, Proverbs or something that Jesus said about the kingdom of God. So do you ever find yourself doing that?
Absolutely. And it's interesting. When they created our unit for the city of Philadelphia, my title, we all had different groups that we were focused on. So I'm the program analyst for the faith-based community.
Wow.
As a result, majority of my trainings were for churches, mosques, synagogues, any religious type of organization. And I also did community organizations as well. So when we were going to a religious organization, they will always ask certain questions, dealing, because your mental mindset also deals with how you feel about yourself as a person, your spiritual relationship, because we're all spiritual beings, regardless of whatever your religious beliefs may be. So being able to address that, because your sense of purpose, your sense of interconnectedness with other individuals, that's spiritual peace. Right. And how you take care of your body, if you value yourself as a person, if you feel as though you have some type of self-worth about you, that's a spiritual thing as well. So all of it intertwines. You can't separate it. They can separate church and state, but you can't separate your spirit from your physical, your natural person. It's all in there.
I know that's right.
Right.
So people want to know that connectedness. Does God love me in spite of this? Is my mental illness a curse? Did I do something wrong and bring this upon myself? All of those different things, so the question about genetics, heredity, and all of that is really, really important. No, you didn't do anything. It's different things that happen to us, totality. It's not one particular thing that we can say that causes these things. But thanks be to God that we live in a time now where there are more resources.
Wow.
Right.
So they ask you those questions
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. They ask me all of those kinds of questions. They ask me because I'm a minister. People think I'm supposed to be strong and have all the answers, but sometimes I can't hold all of that stuff in. When people come to you and confide in you, we're talking about, that's why it's important, that self-care plan, knowing who you can talk to that won't share it with anybody else. Those individuals need someone as well. And so they talk about this. So they'll preach and they'll go home and then be depressed.
Wow.
So we have to learn how to deal with them. Believe that God loves you, and anything that you experience is overcome by love.
Wow. Wow.
So, Tamara, are there any early signs of someone dealing with mental health issues?
Yes, absolutely. Depending on how well you know the person. For instance, if you know someone that's always dressed and always coordinated, and their earrings match, their outfit match, their shoes match, their purse match. Now, when you see that person and everything that doesn't match, something's going on, because that's change in that person's behavior, their norm. If someone's usually talkative and now they're not saying anything, something's happened. If someone's always on time and now they're coming in late, something's happening repeatedly, not the occasional, repeatedly. So when you notice those subtle changes, or someone that really is soft-spoken and now they're being abrupt or seem irritable, something's happened. So we don't say what's wrong, we say what happened.
Wow.
Okay.
And when you notice those things,
I like that.
what happened? What happened to cause this change? You know, would you like to go out for coffee, out for lunch? Don't approach them in front of everybody. Take it to the side. You know, and talk to them. So if you see something, say something.
Oh, I like that.
What happened? That's a negative. What's wrong is kind of negative. They're like, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
You know, when you say wrong, so I like that. What happened?
Yes, it's what happened.
I like that. Oh, a lot. What happened? Yeah.
You see something, say something.
You see something, say something. Wow.
Put that, like the preacher say, put that in the chat. You see something
That in the chat.
Absolutely.
Wow. Good.
Yeah, it is really good. Good information, you know?
Yes, you know, we're not in this alone.
Right.
We're not in this alone. We're all human beings. And at the end of the day, you cut me, I bleed. Cut you, you bleed. You know, we're all in this together. So if we can shed that love and that awareness, then we're able to help individuals.
Right,
You know?
right, yeah.
And if we know a person and take that time to get to know a person, how many times you would go to work and know the person and you just walk by or you say, hi, how you doing? And you keep on walking. People don't even stay still to get the answer. Maybe I was in a car accident or something, or it happened. Ask the question, but wait for the response.
Yeah, they don't really want to know. They don't care.
It was so funny. One time on the job, I was like, "How are you doing?" And the guy was like, "Terrible." And it stood like, "Wait a minute, you're supposed to say fine." I was like, "How are you doing?" He was like, "Terrible." I was like, because you expect for everybody to say I'm fine, right? So I was like, then I had to like swish and like, "Oh, what's wrong?" Oh, now I got to say, "What happened?"
Yes, what happened?
I love it.
You know what, Miss Brown, I'm thinking if you ask a lot of people what's wrong, then you're afraid they're gonna give you this long dissertation, this long, detailed medical problems, this long.
Yeah.
And you want to hear all of that.
Yeah, people don't want to hear of it. And that's why we can see so much of an increase in people contemplating suicide. That's why you see a lot of individuals, you know, just checking out, not wanting to be here anymore, or struggling with relationships because we don't want to take the time. Yes, everybody's experiencing something, but if I have experienced something, maybe my sharing it or talking to you could help or support. So we should be, if we're willing to become a part of individuals' lives, we have to be able to take that time out to listen.
Yeah.
And that's why we thought this show was so important, because of, you know, reading the news, how people have been taking their life and everything.
Yeah.
So we bring this to our audience in case people are going through stuff, and let them know there's resources out there, that they're not alone. They don't have to feel like they're alone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And suicide is the second largest cause of death among our young people. You know, there are accidents, suicide, and there are different groups that are extremely vulnerable, you know, like our older individuals, and you know, they're living longer. So as we talked about earlier, they are sometimes the victims of you know, elder abuse or different things out there. We're finding an increase in substance misuse, you know, with alcohol and other substances. And so it's a lot of things that are out there that are actually you know, challenge for individuals. So we really, really have to be supportive of people.
Yeah.
So listen to them. Everybody's important, young and old.
Y'all important.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
You're so important, Mal.
Oh, Mommy, you are important.
You are important.
Thank you. What's your name, Lonnie? Is her name Lonnie? Melanie? I'm addressing Melanie.
Yolanda.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And I just want to
Did
say,
anybody ask you about the early signs of dealing with mental illness?
oh, yeah, I did talk about a little bit of those signs. You can see those subtle changes in a person's behavior.
Yeah, that's right. You did.
Yes, absolutely. And I wanted to give you some numbers. You know, of course, you can always call. I think 911 is the universal number. But they also have what we call for texting, because sometimes a person might be in a situation where they may not be able to call, but they can text. So they can text 741-741 and text help to 741-741. All right. And then there's the, well, in our city of Philadelphia, we have what we call a mobile line. You may have one as well. So wherever you may be, you know, just type in suicide. There's also the trevor.org, trevor.org, where you can find some information as well. So look for the mental health services in your area. Just Google them. All right. And you should be able to find the different places that are out in your community. But the 741-741 text help to that number, and the people can get some support.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
You know, I was thinking about, you know, people, because we were talking about people that's committing suicide. Do you think it's like a specific profession or something that they're in, opposed to others, like for instance, like people in the entertainment industry, or the first responders, law enforcement, you know?
Well, we really find a lot, you know, it's increased, of course, with law enforcement individuals, but also we're finding different communities for, like, for instance, the Asian community, immigrants, they're more likely to experience, you know, contemplate completing suicide because of the challenges and the adjustments. Also, the LGBTQ, you know, they also have the challenge because people do hate crimes against individuals, you know, because of their sexual orientation as well. You know, the hate crimes, different things like that. So when individuals have a challenge being accepted and adjusting to a change, it can be very traumatic for individuals. People going through a breakup, going through a divorce, losing a loved one, a significant other. Those are all things. And when those things occur, that person is more susceptible, you know, more vulnerable.
Yeah.
So it's in those times we need to, you know, support people.
Brenda Davis. Hey, Brent. She said, it's okay not to be okay. We are human. Get help.
Absolutely.
I'm not okay.
That's
absolutely.
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
It's real good.
And we should be free enough to communicate that, and someone should take us seriously enough and to be able to support and help us. So as I stated before, if you're not the one and you don't feel comfortable, hand them off to a professional.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to say this, you know, like when you're in like church groups and stuff, you are, a lot of times you're afraid to say I'm oppressed or I'm depressed or I'm going, you know, through something. I remember when I was at this one church and the minister got up and asked, you know, if is anybody depressed in here? And no one, you know, one person got up and went into the line. And I looked and I was like, no way in the world. Because you just never know. You just never know who it could be, you know? And so like Brent said, don't be afraid. Don't be scared of it, you know, because it's better to get help than to stay where you are, you know, and then get worse, you know?
But you know what I'm thinking, Ms. Brown, we feel more at liberty of saying I have cancer than to say I had a breakdown. People view us differently, physical, like as opposed to mental. But problems are problems.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we used to actually ask a question. We used to do an exercise really in our training, and we would give individuals a mental health disorder like depression or anxiety, and then we'll give some other individuals blindness or diabetes or something like that. And what we come to realize that if a person experiences diabetes, a heart attack, a broken leg, they get flowers, they get cars, they get a lot of visitors. If somebody said, I'm depressed, you know, I experience extreme anxiety, they don't know how to get any visitors. They don't know how to get any cards. People, people treat them two different things, but they're both they're illnesses.
Oh, yeah.
A person doesn't want to have a mental illness.
Yeah.
Who grows up and say, I want to experience a mental disorder? Who grows up? No one does that.
Right.
So we need to learn how to treat them the same. So making individuals more aware is a serious thing.
Yeah.
It's an illness. A person can't help that. You
Right.
know, so that's why you put a support system around that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I mean, they don't necessarily be in the hospital if they have a mental illness or anything, right? But you're just saying, be there to support them and give them the same type of attention as you would if somebody had cancer or if they lost a loved one or something like that. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, well, some people do get hospitalized because of a mental illness, especially if they're contemplating killing themselves.
Yeah.
All right. They may have been so distraught by whatever occurred that they don't trust themselves. All right. Or they might be of harm to themselves or others. So yes, some people actually do go to the hospital.
Okay.
Absolutely. I also wanted to share another number with you all. It's the suicide hotline number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's 1-800-273-8255.
Okay, 1-800-273-8255.
8255.
Okay.
All right. And that number, and that's a 1-800 number. So when you call that number, then you let them know where they're from, and then they can connect them to a local organization that can support that person.
Okay.
And I was thinking a person with a mental health needs flowers and love more so than other people anyway, because they need
as much. Yes.
Yeah.
And I was thinking too that sometimes people don't know how to handle people with oppression, and they don't know what to say, to people that's going through that. So what would you tell somebody who don't know how to handle a person that's going through that?
Well, find some commonality, just starting up a conversation. I've noticed, use those I statements. I noticed, you know that you're not your normal self today. Has anything happened? Would you like to talk about it? Would you like to go out for coffee?
Wow.
I mean, just starting just a natural conversation, just showing an individual that you care can really cause so much. How many people don't even get a hug a day? How many times somebody didn't say, hello, I love you, I care about you, I'm concerned about you. Those little things, a couple of years ago, I read this article about this lady. She started charging $2 per kiss, for a kiss. Yeah, kiss them on the cheek, whatever. She made about over, I think it was between $75,000 and $85,000 that year. People will pay for a hug or pay for a kiss. Yes.
Amen.
How many people aren't touched? The human touch.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. Pre-COVID, I was talking to this first lady, and she was telling me that they're to do their missionary thing. They had they wore shirts, and it was saying something like, "Do you need a hug?" Just in the street, just on the street.
Wow.
That's how they went out to do missionary work,
Awesome.
Free hugs, on their t-shirts, you know what I'm saying? Just in the neighborhood,
Yes.
I thought that was powerful.
That is powerful. You run into somebody, you wear that, and somebody just comes out of a doctor's office with some bad news.
Yeah.
They reach your thing. I need a hug.
Yeah.
I remember one time, we had an event at work, and we had all these balloons. So I had all these balloons just walking down the street. So I started giving out balloons.
Wow.
That is so cool.
So many people, they were so happy. They were smiling and stuff. It was just so nice.
Wow.
Just doing something just simple as that,
Wow.
Yeah. Did you have a thought? I thought someone cut you off. Did you have something?
But I did, but I forgot what it was. But I can ask the question. That's okay. It'll come back tomorrow. What are some of the cases? what are some of the cases, if you're free to answer this question, that you have come across in dealing with people with mental health disorders?
Just people experiencing maybe depression and being able to support them and connect them. Listening has been one of the greatest skills. I've come across individuals that may have been having auditory, hearing voices, the depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, quite a few individuals, and just being able to be there, recognizing those signs and symptoms and being able to support them and connect them to the professionals has been, and just knowing how to communicate.
And what do you sometimes go on one-on-one or with the group? Mostly a group?
Well, we don't really go out. This is just meeting people in the street.
Okay.
And also some relatives as well.
Wow.
And then when we're doing certain places that we, a lot of times our job is downtown, so you see individuals. Sometimes I see people that have taken some type of substance, and you can see the effects of the substance on them. Like they can't hardly stand, or they're leaning, different things like that. One time we even had the occasion to go down a certain area called Kensington in our city, where homeless individuals have made makeshift houses and different things under the bridge, different things like that. Or going to a playground where you would like to see children, but now you just see needles. Seeing different things like that. And so yeah, a lot of things, or supporting individuals and encouraging them and connecting them to getting housing or different things, because they might have a mental health challenge or things like that nature. So being in there to connect individuals.
Wow. What about violent? Have you ever come across someone just getting violent?
No.
Oh, good.
Most of the time, individuals that are experiencing a mental health challenge, the violence is directed toward themselves, and very rarely towards somebody, and sometimes towards someone that they know, but they are not the ones that are violent. They're more likely to be the victim of violence than to inflict the violence themselves. And we actually have a video that shows that a person is more concerned that someone might hurt them. And what tends to happen sometimes, because individuals that may not be experiencing a mental health challenge are afraid of the person's behaviors. So they may become violent because of their fear of the person and not knowing how to engage the individual.
Okay. Wow. So do you deal with people of all ages or a specific age?
It could be any, as they do the research, they're finding even young children even as young as 5 who start having or experiencing anxiety disorders. Yes, and we've had many individuals, several individuals in our classes that will say, well, I'm challenged with a anxiety disorder, and I've had this ever since I was a teenager. Yes, absolutely. Some of these things, schizophrenia sometimes has its onset in the late teens, early 20s sometimes. And I have experienced an individual, that has experienced challenges with schizophrenia.
Wow.
Yeah.
You think that's
and also, Ms. Brown, the chemical imbalance that causes a lot of things too. And that's like teenage level.
Sometimes it's not totally conclusive, because that also can combine with other environmental challenges that the person might experience, and some traumas that the person may experience. So they can't rule out saying that chemical imbalance is the culprit, because it could also be something that the person has experienced in their environment. It could also be some type of trauma that they have gone through as well. So all of those things combined can be the reason why that person might be experiencing that mental health challenge.
That's what I was thinking about, stuff that happens in the people's homes and the children, the molestation, and a parent who's a drug addict or
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Now I
Oh, I'm
can.
sorry. Okay. No, I was saying, I was thinking about the trauma and that people suffer, in their house, like even the young kids, like maybe their parent is an alcoholic, or, when they've been molested or something like that, by a family member. I think that causes a lot of the mental health issues in these children.
Mm.
Yes.
And, what about abuse too? Being abused, maybe.
Absolutely. All of those things, all of those are traumas. Those are traumas.
Right.
Or even how people are treated on their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Yes.
valued, or mean things being said to them, or different things that affect how a person perceives their self-worth. Those
Mhm.
things also cause people trauma to see and think a certain way. Remember, a mental challenge deals with the way we think, our perceptions. It affects our thought processes. And then when it affects our thought processes, it affects how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about others. And if it gets to a certain level, then it can also show up in our behavior and the actions that we do.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
once you see that action, it is already going through the person's feelings and their perception and their thought processes.
Mhm.
So that's why it's so important for a person, get up in the morning, take a shower, get dressed, look at yourself in the mirror and say, you're beautiful, you're handsome, you're gorgeous, you're lovely, you're intelligent, you're awesome, you're all that. Anything that comes up today, you and God can handle it. Talk to yourself, encourage yourself.
Good.
And we have to teach people how to treat us, how to talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't say anything to me anyway, any kind of way, and expect a lovey-dovey response.
Mm-hmm.
No, talk to me like a human being. Talk to me as though I'm on your level, because we are on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, you cut me, I bleed, I cut you, you bleed.
Right.
All right. We're all human beings, and we all are connected, whether we want to believe it or not. What happens over there in China eventually happens and affects us here in the United
That's
States.
true.
What happens here in the United States eventually affects someone in South America. We're all connected, so we have to be able to love one another and respect one another and value people for who they are, because we all bring something to the table, every single one of us.
Right, right. What about a child being forced to grow up too soon, something like that? Experience stuff that they shouldn't be experiencing at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That causes it as well.
Yes, that's trauma. That's trauma.
That's trauma.
And when we teach our course, when we look at the young people, when we teach adults how to interact with the youth, we don't so much focus on the mental illnesses. We focus on the development, learning how the child develops, know what to expect. Because sometimes, a child seeming awkward or shutting themselves in their room, people might say they might have a mental health challenge. But is it really, or is it part of their adolescent development? You have to look at the two and discern, because a child might like do certain things, play with towels, with toys, dolls or color. And then all of a sudden, as they're growing up, they don't want to do those things. There's nothing wrong with them. Now they're growing up. So now they might want to play basketball. Now they might want to, run track or something like that, do gymnastics or whatever. So we have to look at the natural development, physical development, the mental development of young people. All of that has to come into play as well. So what's, quote unquote, the normal process of development? And then you're able to know what might not be so.
That's what I was thinking, because some teenagers, they just go in their bedrooms, they don't want to talk. How was school? It was fine. What you do? Nothing. And and it's nothing wrong with them. That's just how some teenagers act. Yeah.
But you also want to engage your young person. If they're doing it too much, you still want to have that time with that young person.
Right.
You want to plan a date, mom and son date, mom and daughter date, those types of things, when you spend that quality time and ask the young person questions. Because I tell you, when my son was getting ready to go to college, and it was a great transition, and he was going all the way down here to Virginia, I was asking him questions. I was like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Have you You think about killing yourself. You contemplating suicide. Is everything going on? Yes, ma'am. I asked the question because
Wow.
I want to know. I want to make sure my baby is okay.
That's
and you
very
gotta
good.
ask those questions and know what to do. If he would have said yes, I then said, well, how long you been feeling this way?
Okay.
What happened to make you want to feel this way?
Mhm.
Talk to me, share with me, how are you feeling? What's your mindset? All of those things. And then I could connect them to the appropriate people to talk to, a counselor or somebody. So all of those things, yeah, don't be afraid. And that's one of the things we do in our class as well. We ask people to say that, and people that work in the field, that's part of some of those evaluations that they do when people come in, those intake questions, when they gather all that information. Now ask those questions. But if you're concerned about them and you notice those subtle changes in their behaviors, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
So, Tamara, a lot of times we say, don't say anything negative. We got to know good and bad, evil and good. But you don't want to hear it. You want to just push it on the rug. Don't say anything negative. Where's your faith? Stuff like that. And we don't want to face reality. You have to, and I like the way you say it. Well, you're going to do this, ask the hard questions. Some people don't want to be confronted with hard questions.
Yeah.
We have to be, we're responsible. You're my brother, you're my sister. I'm responsible for you. If I notice a change and I don't say anything, that's on me. And sometimes we may not catch everything. And that's why it's so important to learn the information, learn those signs and symptoms of somebody contemplating suicide. If they're giving away all of their things, if they're saying things that are totally not them, or do they have a goals? Do they have plans for their lives? Talk to young people, talk to adults. Do you have goals? Are you aspiring to do anything or to be someone? What are your hopes and what are your dreams? Talk about those things and see where a person's mindset is. Listen to what they say. You have to listen. People say a whole lot of stuff and it falls on deaf ears. Somebody has to stop. And if you are put in that place, listen.
Yeah.
Listen. Take the time.
That's good. People need to be taught. That's why it's good to have this awareness and those websites you were talking about, the questions to ask, all that, because some people don't know how to deal with it or communicate with someone who is going through, these different challenges, and they don't know how to address them. They don't know how to get the resource, give them the resources and information and stuff they need. So people need to hear this, and anybody can help. Like you said, we all, work together, we are our brother's keepers. So we do need to, listen to one another. But I think the fear may be you don't know how to handle it. If they did tell you, yes, I feel like committing suicide. You know what I mean?
How can I help?
Yeah.
What can I do?
Yeah.
Can I call someone? You have the hotline number.
Yep.
Plug that in your phone. Everybody, plug that in your phone. Everybody has a phone now. If you don't know what to do, call 911. Call that National Suicide Hotline and stay with that person. Because if it was you, wouldn't you want somebody to help you?
Yeah, that's good.
And if you don't want to help, I'm going to help you anyway.
I know that's right.
I like that.
On my watch.
Right. So can
excuse me, I want to say this too. When you step in to help somebody, you're covered by the Good Samaritan law. All right. But get to training. Wow. You got to get to training.
Okay.
All right. Just like you get regular first aid training to help somebody. If they got a cut or bruise, mental health first aid. Now in the city of Philadelphia, we offer it free. All right. To anybody in our city. But you can look for it where you are, get to training. Hey, we'll come train you wherever you are. Get us like 15, 20 people online and we'll train you. Hey, we're online now.
That is excellent.
That's good. I like that.
Wow, that's so excellent. Good.
I like
it's
that.
A 3-year certification. It's a 3-year certification. Get the information. It's here. It's available. It's out there. And you can learn it. And we had one individual in the class, and this was at a church, and she took our youth mental health training. And she said she had the opportunity to talk to a young person that was contemplating completing suicide. And because she took the training, she was able to talk that young person down to a point where she was able to connect them to the appropriate professional help. Learn how to talk to people, just using those I statements and listening non-judgmental, and give reassurance and information. Give reassurance that hope is possible. You can get through this. There's others that have experienced something similar to what you're going through. They made it through. You can make it through too. Connect them and connect them to the appropriate professional help.
So thank you so much. That was a final word. I was going to say a final word, but that was a final word. Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in to Chillin' with the Girls. We will see y'all next week. Thank you so much, Tamara Brown. I put a whole lot of stuff online.
Excellent.
Yeah, share this video. You know, Shaquita, I think it's Shaquita or Shaquita. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but she said she's going to share it because she said it's needed and people need to hear it. So good night. We love you guys. We'll see y'all later.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.